The confidence that comes from knowing too little. People think confidence comes from mastery, but the most dangerous confidence comes from ignorance. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just a psychological bias, it's a trap built into the human mind. The less you know, the simpler things look. The simpler things look, the more certain you feel. The more certain you feel, the more blind you become. He remembered someone who spoke with absolute authority on topics they barely understood. They weren't lying. They genuinely believed they were correct. And that's the horror. Ignorance doesn't whisper, it shouts. When you lack skill, you also lack the awareness to see your lack of skill. So incompetence feels like confidence, while competence feels like doubt. If someone just came to mind, someone loud, reckless, oversure, oversimplistic, your brain recognized what your patience tried to ignore. The trap isn't theirs alone. It's yours too. Because every person has moments where they knew too little to realize how little they knew.
Number 10. The less you know, the more certain you feel. The curve begins with arrogance. He once learned a new skill and within a few hours felt unstoppable, as if mastery were inevitable. This is the peak of Mount Stupid, the first stage of the Dunning-Kruger trajectory. A tiny amount of knowledge creates the illusion of understanding. The mind fills in the gaps with confidence instead of humility. You don't see the complexities. You don't see the blind spots. You don't see the danger. Human trigger. Ignorance doesn't create doubt. It creates certainty. Emotion shift. Recognition to unease. You weren't confident. You were uninformed.
Number 9. You trust your intuition because you have no data. Beginners often trust intuition because they lack the knowledge to distrust it. He remembered someone who felt they knew the answer to complex problems, medicine, finance, psychology, even life or death decisions. But intuition without experience isn't wisdom. It's randomness wearing confidence. The less data you have, the more your brain fills the void with instinctive certainty. Human trigger. When intuition replaces knowledge, confusion feels like clarity. Emotion shift. Unease to doubt. You didn't know the truth, you just liked your guess. Number 8. You mistake simplicity for understanding. The human mind loves simple answers, especially to complicated problems. He once heard someone say, all it takes is discipline to describe addiction, or just communicate to describe relationship trauma, or just think positive to describe depression. This is oversimplification bias, the illusion that simple explanations mean simple realities. But simplicity is a sign of a shallow viewpoint. Human trigger. If the answer feels too clean, the understanding is too small. Emotion shift. Doubt to suspicion. You didn't explain the problem, you flattened it. Number 7. You overestimate your skills because reality hasn't tested you yet. Confidence thrives where consequences don't exist. He once watched a beginner boast about how easy a task looked until they attempted it. Lifting weights, writing code, playing piano, leading people, solving crises. Every skill looks effortless from the outside, until reality intervenes. This is competence illusion, the belief that potential equals capability. Human trigger. Confidence without confrontation is fantasy. Emotion shift. Suspicion to alarm. You weren't skilled, you were untested. Number 6. You don't know enough to notice your mistakes. He remembered explaining something he thought he understood, only to later discover half of it was wrong and the other half incomplete. This is the core of the trap. The incompetent cannot see their own incompetence. You can't judge accuracy when you don't know the criteria. You can't spot errors when you don't know the rules. You can't fix flaws you can't perceive. Human trigger. You can't correct what you can't recognize. Emotion shift. Alarm to disbelief. You didn't avoid mistakes, you were blind to them.
Number 5. You defend wrong answers with emotional certainty. Confidence becomes armor. He once saw someone react to correction with anger, not because they were sure, but because doubt felt threatening. When people lack knowledge, they defend identity instead of accuracy. The argument becomes emotional. Rationality collapses. Pride takes over. Human trigger. Ignorance turns fragile when exposed. Emotion shift. Disbelief turns into tension. You weren't confident, you were cornered.
Number 4. You mistake effortlessness in others as proof you can do it too. He once watched experts make difficult tasks look casual, like painting, coding, singing, public speaking, strategy. The ease was misleading. Experts compress years of failure into fluid motion, but the Dunning-Kruger mind doesn't see the struggle, only the result. So it assumes, if they can do it, I can do it. Human trigger. Effortless results hide effortful origins. Emotion shift. Tension to chill. You didn't see the mastery, you saw the illusion of it.
Number 3. You start giving advice before understanding anything. Ignorance doesn't stop people from becoming teachers. He once heard someone give advice on relationships they'd never maintained, money they'd never managed, fitness they'd never achieved, topics they'd never studied. The urge to advise comes from certainty, not expertise. And certainty comes easiest to the least knowledgeable. Human trigger. The less you know, the more you want to instruct. Emotion shift. Chill to collapse. You weren't helping, you were projecting.
Number 2. You lack doubt because you lack awareness. Experts doubt themselves because they know the depth of what they don't know. Beginners feel confident because they don't see the depth at all. Humility grows with knowledge. Arrogance grows with ignorance. He once noticed that the smartest people he knew spoke softly, asked questions, paused before answering, while the least informed spoke the loudest. Human trigger. Doubt is not weakness, it's awareness. Emotion shift. Collapse to awareness. You weren't sure, you were shallow.
Number 1. Confidence peaks first, knowledge peaks later. The Dunning-Kruger trap is a cruel timeline. Confidence peaks at the beginning. Knowledge peaks far later. The mind experiences a little learning equals I know this. More learning equals this is harder than I thought. Real learning equals I know nothing. Mastery equals I know enough to stay humble. The danger happens when people get stuck at the first peak. They lead companies. They ruin relationships. They spread misinformation. They endanger others. They sabotage themselves. Human trigger. Confidence without depth is the most dangerous form of ignorance. Emotion shift. Awareness. Quiet shock. You didn't outgrow the trap. You escaped it barely.
Humility is the only cure. If someone came to mind while reading this, someone loud, oversure, reckless, incapable of nuance, Your brain wasn't judging them. It was identifying the pattern. But this video isn't about them. It's about you and the moments where confidence arrived too early and awareness arrived too late. Humility isn't softness. It's a survival skill. It protects you from the illusion that you already understand. It protects others from the consequences of your blind certainty. If your breath slowed, if something inside you shifted, if you felt the weight of your own past assumptions, you aren't collapsing, you're waking up. The trap only wins when you don't know you're inside it. If you're still here, still reading, still reflecting, you've already stepped out. Share this before someone else mistakes confidence for competence.